What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Now today we're looking at r/SupernovaRevenge. So over the last couple of weeks I've had a look at two different revenge subreddits. You can see them on screen right now. First we looked at Pro Revenge, but you guys wanted more, and then we went to Nuclear Revenge. Now that was pretty insane, but apparently there's even more. This is SupernovaRevenge, revenge that is so insane it's out of this world. If you've not come across this subreddit before, let me show you a good example of what you can expect. Man makes me endure 12 hours of pain. I destroyed his career. In my teens, I had to have numerous operations. Therefore, I always ended up at one particular hospital that specialized in my condition. Now, the hospital was high quality, with staff that were very caring, and they looked out for patients they had. They gave you essentially the 5-star treatment. After all, they were charging our insurance an incredible amount of money, so that probably had something to do with it. But one particular operation I had, it all went to heck. It wasn't like this type of procedure wasn't something I had not done in the past. It was about the third time I needed to have it done. No pressure whatsoever. Essentially, it entailed breaking both your legs and placing rods into them to put them back into the proper place so they would end up growing correctly. They would be in for a few months to heal, and then they were taken out. During that time, I would have to turn small little handles to reposition my bones, according to a pre-printed out schedule given to me by my doctor. It hurt like heck, but it was worth it in the end. Despite how often I had done it, it was still extremely painful, especially for the first few weeks after the procedure was done. Any vibrations would send shockwaves of pain throughout your entire body, regardless of how doped up you were on painkillers. So the doctors took extra care to ensure that any trip back home was as smooth as possible. Literally, they all understood that without a jetpack back to your home for anyone more than 40 minutes away from the hospital, it was medically required that you travel back home in a med chair. Oh, what, for real? Wow. Imagine every single bump you experience when driving for any period of time. Now imagine being sent into shockwaves of 10 out of 10 pain every single time you went over that bump. You get the idea. Now, most hospitals offer individuals a liaison within the hospital to deal with their insurance. You just have that individual talk to the doctor, and right away they would work out what the doctor wanted with the company. No hassle. We didn't take up that offer because we understood how everything worked and it was never an issue. But the hospital always offered us one anyway. And yes, these liaisons were not employees of the insurance company but of the hospital. They were designed to look after the best interests of the patients and justify it to the insurance company. Then, our designated liaison decided that our request to not have a liaison was unacceptable, and thus he would intentionally intervene every change he could. He even went as far as to deny our nurse requests for extra pillows because the hospital only allows X number of pillows per person, despite the nurse literally stating it was fine. But nope, since he was at a higher level, he apparently had final say. When it was nearing our time to leave the hospital, like always, the doctor wanted to bill the insurance for the medical jet because it was medically required. Same old, same old. However, our idiot liaison disagreed with the doctor's assessment that it was medically required, justifying his opinion based upon our insurance company's definition of medically required. Naturally, the doctor flipped his lid and verbally curb stomped the idiot. The liaison said, "Listen, simply avoiding pain isn't something that the insurance will cover. It's not medically required to avoid pain." The doctor replied, "Are you kidding me? You realize this patient would have to drive 12 hours in a cramped ambulance with 2 broken legs? In excruciating pain if they didn't fly? It's absolutely unheard of. You literally would have to have 2 EMTs escort them back home just in case anything happened. The cost is only marginally smaller than the dang jet. Plus, there is a small chance the rods could become disrupted if anything happens in the car. That's the justification. Look, the odds of any crash happening are not high enough for the company to justify it. This would hurt the company if they keep doing this. Listen, I don't know why on God's green earth you are even arguing with me. This isn't frickin' up to you. You are not a doctor. You have no medical training. You were given a goddamn list of the insurance company's policies. And now you think you can properly diagnose what is or is not medically medically required? I've done this for thousands of patients with this very company. Now get your butt back to your office, bill the frickin' insurance company properly, and shut the heck up. You work for us, not for them. I was in earshot of this entire conversation. A week later, on the day of departure, we learned what happened when he went back to his office. He had called the insurance company and began going through the proper channels to get the jet approved. However, he began dropping small hints to the rep that in his opinion, driving would also be fine. So naturally, on the day before our departure, we got a call from the insurance company denying the request. I was furious. There wasn't time to appeal the decision. There wasn't anything any of us could do. Even my doctor was stuck because the liaison worked for a different department and he couldn't even fire the guy. He apologized time and time again and ensured the 12-hour ambulance ride would be as comfortable as possible, and even told the driver to keep me as medicated as possible to ensure it went well. Naturally, it did nothing, and it was the most hellish 12-hour experience of my life. I was screaming the entire 12 hours. The ambulance wasn't even outfitted with a bed, it only had some type of hammock type thing. 2 EMTs had to endure non-stop screaming from someone who didn't even belong in the ambulance in the first place. Everyone was furious and everyone blamed that one man. Everyone wanted him fired, but they had no medical reason to fire him, because according to the union's policies, he technically did what he was supposed to do. The only way for him to be let go was for him to have caused the patient some type of harm that the doctor warned about. So, days after my trip, my doctor insisted that I see a medical professional in my hometown, to ensure that nothing happened on the trip. This was like the 3rd time I had done this, so it was a pretty common request I was familiar with. As I was still fuming, this is when I hatched my plan. I knew that I was the only one with control over the rod's proper position. I knew that having the rods not properly dialed in for a few days wouldn't do any long-term harm, and would only result in a lot of pain to dial it back in afterwards. I knew that my doctor would be furious if anything happened out of the ordinary, his reputation being on the line and such, and I knew that no medical professional had checked my rods to confirm their current setting after the trip. So, I popped 3 pain pills, waited for them to kick in, and unscrewed every single rod to the lowest setting possible. Just for reference, after the procedure, they end up setting the starting point for these rods somewhere in the mid-range of their settings. It was the worst pain of my freaking life. I was wheeled into my local doctor with the adjustment notebook in hand. I kept playing dumb, saying I believed everything was going fine, but my legs just felt awful. And if it was possible, could he make sure that everything was going okay? He began his inspection and his face went white when he realized where the screws were set. He asked me what setting they had been on when I left the hospital, and I told him. Again, he did not look happy. He told me that something must have happened on the trip and he would need to properly adjust them back into place, and it would hurt like heck, but it needed to be done. The screaming at that appointment was, let's just say, disruptive. I didn't even have to fake it. It was genuinely one of the most painful things I've ever experienced in my life. My doctor was furious as he was up to date on the entire liaison situation. He excused himself after the readjustment of the rods to a back room. I assume he thought he was out of earshot. He was wrong. He phoned my doctor out of state and he had a few choice words for him. How could you effing let this happen? Do you know how dangerous this could have been? If he hadn't got an appointment with me this fast, his freaking bones would have permanently grown in the wrong place. And he would need another surgery to fix this flipping mess. I don't know what kind of freaking operation you have over there, but there is 0 chance I will ever refer anyone in my clinic to you again. Do you hear me? How hard is it to control your freaking insurance handlers? Fast forward to my operation to remove my rods, back in that specialist hospital out of state. The liaison was not just terminated, oh no. The liaison got accused of intentionally trying to endanger the life of a patient, and lying to the insurance company, and lying about a doctor's medical assessment for his own benefit. I have no idea where the last accusation came from, but maybe it was lodged as an additional justification to fire him. I don't quite know all the consequences of his actions. I could only muster up a few details from my doctor. From what my doctor described, the hospital put out a notice to every hospital in the state to not hire this man. Those hospitals apparently also sent out a notice to all the hospitals in their surrounding areas to not hire him. This ended up resulting in a domino effect that barred him from working in almost every hospital in the country. I wanted him fired. I didn't plan on getting him blacklisted. Nevertheless, I was freaking giddy, especially after my doctor informed me that there was no lasting damage for the mistake he caused. Fast forward about 4 years, and I hear through the grape TikTok that he ended up having to change professions because of the accusations. He ended up doing some waste management job or something else. No idea if it's literal garbage man status or working in a waste management company in a desk job. Wow, what an insane story. It sounds like justice was served to this idiot. I love the level of detail in this story. It was such a good read, but what is incredible is the lengths that this patient were willing to go to get this man fired. Like, the amount of pain that you described must be unbelievable. I don't even know. I'd like to know, was it worth it, all this pain for one man to be fired? I guess they pretty much ruined a few months of your life, so yeah, maybe it was. So there you go, guys. That is SupernovaRevenge. If you didn't know what it was before this video, you probably know what it was now. I don't know if we can get any more insane than this subreddit, but maybe there is another subreddit that's even bigger than SupernovaRevenge? I don't know, let me know in the comments. Anyway, that is the end of this video. That is now 3 revenge videos we've done so far in December. If you want to watch the other videos, they are on screen right now. Don't miss them, they are equally as incredible. With that all being said, I really hope you did enjoy this video. Like it and subscribe if you haven't done already, and I will see you all later today with another video on the channel.